Hi-ho, folks. It's me, Debate Brother number 2. I'm here to talk to you about the review of Titanic. If you were thinking it was James Cameron's Titanic, which everyone is mostly familiar with, no, it's not the 1997 film at all. It's not even the 1996 miniseries of Titanic that starred Tim Curry and George C. Scott. Nope, this goes way back. Long before color was even really around. It's not A Night to Remember from 1958, the most accurate version of the Titanic story ever to put on film. Nope. It's not the 1953 movie Titanic, which was distributed by 20th Century Fox and starring a young Robert Wagner. No, it's the 1943 Titanic movie, the first movie ever to be called Titanic. Let me give you a little history on this 1943 film. In the heights of World War II in 1943, Germany was losing the war, and Adolf Hitler wanted to try to bring propaganda to his armies. So he turned to his Nazi propaganda minister. I'm reading right now on the computer. The Nazi propaganda minister, Joseph Goebbels, he came up with the idea to use the story of Titanic. Anyway, he wanted to show in this movie the propaganda message of showing how awful the British can be. In this film, the British, including the man who's in charge of the ship, Bruce Ismay, who created the Titanic, owner of the White Star Shipping Company, persuades the captain, Captain Smith, showing that this captain is a man who can easily take a bribe. He wanted to show the corruption and the power hungry of the ways of the British and their points of view at the time. But the film's director, Herbert Selpin, this was his last movie to direct. Goebbels, the propaganda minister, had him arrested because he was not agreeing with anything. He died in prison after being arrested by Goebbels. And here's an interesting fact you all need to know. For 1943, the sets are quite well done. The model of the ship of the Titanic looks amazing. The characters are real amazing too. And the leading star, which everybody is played by a famous German actor at the time, he plays one of the officers of the ship, a German himself. In reality, though, there were no German sailors on the Titanic. True, there was German immigrants, but no German sailors. He is portrayed as the reasonable, well-mannered, thoughtful, brave, heroic German he was in the film. And also the film portrays all immigrants who are Germans as the heroic, sensible types. Like I said, this is a propaganda film made by Germany. They wanted to show their enemy in the wrong way. This is the most historically inaccurate version of them all. But it's still an interesting movie. The film was banned for quite some time in England, but it eventually found its release. And also, this is one of the only propaganda films, there's several others I read about. It's one of the only other propaganda movies never to be banned in Germany because the message failed. The propaganda message failed. Goebbels did not succeed in making his propaganda message. It became more of a drama than a propaganda message. Some film historians said that if this film was based more on the stock market, the fall of the stock market and the Great Depression, maybe it would have been a more powerful story and delivered that propaganda message, but no. Anyway, the story is Titanic is making her maiden voyage from London to New York City. Mr. Ismay, the greedy guy he is in this film, and corrupt businessman, he wants to reach New York at a certain time to prove that his company is the best of the best. Captain Smith is reluctant, of course, at first, but he can't say no to the money. They start getting ice warnings from other ships, and the hero, our German officer, suggests that they change course or slow the speeds down, but the captain refuses because he's taken the bribe. And wouldn't you know it, disaster strikes. There are scenes where people are showing heroism saving imprisoned people. A German man and his wife getting separated during the sinking and eventually reuniting at the end of the film. Mr. Ismay, how he gets off the boat in this film, he wants to get off, but the captain's refusing to let men on, just women and children at the time. But our German officer says, I want you to stand trial so you can have your story told and lose your job. He gets him a seat on a boat. I tell you, it's hard to understand the film because there's no English dubbed. You only have to watch it with subtitles. But I tell you, this film is great. But to me, I think the film needs to have an English dubbed version. And it needs maybe even a movie novelization in English too. For a 1943 film, this was actually a pretty good film. As I said before, how I first learned about it, I was watching a documentary about the legends of Titanic, which spoke about books, survivors, and even the films. And I just had to give the whole movie a try. I'll admit it's hard to understand them without subtitles, especially without an English dubbed. But still, I enjoyed the film. God rest Herbert Salpin, who directed this film. He did a great job at making a great film. The film has the right amount of humor, drama, villainy, and special effects, music. And the most powerful scene to my brother in the whole film, including myself, is where the wireless operator of the Titanic, Phillips, who went down with the ship, stays at his post, and he lets his canary go out of the cage so it can be free and survive while he goes down with the ship. The film, as I said, had great special effects for 1943, and also it was filmed, many of the shots of the ship was filmed on an actual prison ship that was loaned to them during the propaganda time to make the exterior of the ship of Titanic. They tried to find a ship that kind of looked like the Titanic a little bit for certain shots, like on the decks and the floors. It's pretty good. And also, some of the footage of this German film would end up in the British film of 1958's masterpiece, A Night to Remember. The film is, like I said, a masterpiece, and I'm glad that Germany has not banned it, and it was not banned around the world either, because the propaganda message failed. So if you've never seen the 1943 Titanic film, give it a try. You can find it on Amazon too, also on DVD. You can even find it on YouTube. It's public domain. It's an amazing film. I cannot stop saying how much amazing it is. Although the ship does not break in half during the sinking, it goes straight down in one piece. But that only happened right after we discovered the wreck, when we learned that she had gone down in two pieces. Through all the years before that, 1997 masterpiece from James Cameron, every Titanic film showed the Titanic going down in one piece. This one is a cheap version of the sinking, but still, it's still done in a real great way. I wonder if any of the survivors ever saw this propaganda film. But I tell you, this film, do not pass it up. Give it a try. Oh, and one other thing, to all you Nazis, you guys have got the wrong idea in life. This is Debate Brother number 2, signing off.